All right. So thank you so much for joining me. I always love to have my guests start off maybe by introducing themselves.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. I am Sussle Bonanni, founder and communications consultant at elssus.
Great. And I know that you also do something else in addition to elssus. So maybe tell us a little bit about that project as well.
Yes, so I'm also a co-founder of Business Abnormal, which is a communication collective, and we help people navigate through tumultuous times.
Yeah. And I guess you could definitely say this past year has been some interesting times.
Certainly.
So maybe can you tell us a little bit more about what you actually do in terms of supporting people?
Sure. So I build and grow companies' reputations, thereby increasing awareness, business results, and credibility. And what does that mean? I am like a non-traditional publicist for businesses.
Amazing. And why would, a business need a publicist? What's so important about their reputation in this world that we now live in?
Sure. So it could be anything from brand awareness. It could be anything from the copy on their website. It can be anything in business development and strategic communications, partnerships, and obviously media relations. So I call it non-traditional publicist because it's really not a publicist in a traditional sense.
Yeah, but you have been a publicist in the traditional sense. So tell me maybe a little bit more about your background.
Sure. So my career was basically marketing, communication, and business development roles at companies like Verizon, World 50, NBCUniversal, and DDB, as well as a healthcare communications consultancy that's now part of Ogilvy.
Great. And in terms of like starting in such a corporate structured space to where you are now, building these new businesses, what sort of happened? What sort of led you to sort of change your direction?
Well, it's so funny because these are well-known, very large multinational companies, and I was always in the startup part of them. So, for example, at NBC, I was part of a marketing company that had just been acquired by NBC. At DDB, which is a well-oiled machine, I was on the new business team when I started. It was just my boss and I, so we basically started the entire department. And then the company that was based in Europe, that their first day in New York was my first day at work, was very much a startup from an established company on the other side. So I've always had that entrepreneurial status in a company that always had that larger backing. And then when I went out on my own, it just felt like a natural fit.
Great, yeah. And maybe what were some of the first things that you thought were important in terms of starting to build your own business?
Since I have a really strong business development background, that was a number one. I'm always a big fan of building your network and having an established network, having a great network. And, there's people that certainly, add people on LinkedIn just to add them. But I feel that the value of my network is to know people, even if it's a 15-minute conversation, because I am a true connector, and I feel like that is a big value that my network offers me to help other people. But certainly business development and getting the word out that I was going out on my own, and just setting up some processes and figuring out what that actually looked like in my own company.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it's funny, so you mentioned LinkedIn, and that's actually how we connected as well, right?
Yes. I saw an interview you did with Iris Drumby, and she and I had actually connected on Lunch Club. So it's and you had met her there too. And so I saw it and I thought the conversation was fascinating, and I reached out because I thought we could connect.
Yeah. And I thought your background was so fascinating, and all the work that you've done and are now about to do, I think, is super fascinating. So in terms of thinking about business development for other businesses that are also sort of starting up, so you mentioned they should really focus on that. What are some additional tips you have for them beyond networking on places like LinkedIn or leveraging something like Lunch Club?
Getting your name out in the press. when you are looking to hire or bring on new clients, somebody doesn't want to like Google you and see like something from, a couple years ago or, even a year ago at this point. And so being able to either offer something to your local community or having, some publicity around your company, some news, being able to share that and being able to have that visibility, I think, speaks volumes.
Great, yeah. And is there anything in particular people should look for when they're pitching themselves to those types of, whether it's local or even national opportunities?
Yeah, my top advice is that, why should somebody care to write about it? Like, there's so much out there, and just because you're a company is not enough reason for somebody to want to write about it. Why you? Why are you different, and why now? If you can't answer those, find a different angle. And then the other piece is making sure that you reach out to the right reporter. So reporters are ridiculously busy. Their inboxes are crazy overloaded. And so if you're pitching something about one topic and you pitch it to a reporter that doesn't even cover that, it's quite unlikely that they're even going to reply to you, and they will just delete it. So really doing your homework and knowing who to pitch and building that list is really the key piece of any outreach.
Great, yeah. And so probably the best way to get that information also would be by networking, right? That's how you would figure out whether or not a journalist would cover the information you even have to share.
Yeah, and everything they have is, on either the publication's website, on their personal website, on their social media. So the information's out there. You just need to take the time to find it.
Yeah, all right, great. I'd love to hear maybe a little bit more about some of your services. So you mentioned you have these two different businesses. Can you tell us a little bit about how you actually support business owners?
Sure. So the consulting side of elssus is basically the strategy and the execution. And then I've launched an advisory service, which basically will allow me to provide business owners an actionable plan. So a clear roadmap, a to-do list, whatever you want to call it, something that will allow a business owner to hit the ground running. And it might be something, that they've been putting to the side or the bottom of the to-do list, or just, I don't know how to figure that out. What do I do? And so I'm offering a new perspective with my expertise to be able to provide that.
That's great, yeah. And I think we had a conversation a bit about this before, how helpful it can be, right? Just to get some of those super actionable and tangible things to do to get you moving forward. Because I think for so many people, marketing and PR seems like something that's so difficult to do.
Or even this ginormous task, like instead, like you can certainly break it up. So in the beta testing that I have tried already, I have noticed that even just being able to break up those ideas into bite-sized actions have been really helpful.
Yeah, great. And so who are you outside of your work? Because I know, we've talked a little bit about some of the traveling that you've done. I believe you've traveled to over 30 different countries, which is absolutely amazing. So tell us a little bit more about the Lori outside of the work she does in PR.
Well, I love traveling. I love being in a new environment. I got bit by the bug, and, I just want to be in so many different places. I think also it's not just, checking off the lists, right? Anthony Bourdain has a quote, like, if your itinerary in Paris is filled with the Louvre and the Eiffel Tower, like, you're not going to have any magic, right? So I am famous for going off the beaten track. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a place when I've been asked, how did you find this? Like, Americans don't come here. And so that's really, really fun to me. And I just think being immersed in a different culture and being uncomfortable is really fun for me. I know for a lot of people that would not. And one of the things, much to my husband's dismay, is I really like being spontaneous on travel. So one of our compromises now is that we have to know where we're staying the first night that we get somewhere and the last night. So that is our deal. I can't tell you how many times, it'd be 4 o'clock and we'd have no idea where we're staying, or even when I was traveling alone, I would be eating dinner and looking up places and to where I could stay. So it's definitely the spontaneity of traveling and not knowing where, not following a boom, boom, boom itinerary is what's really fun to me. And really meeting locals and, little tricks like, don't eat somewhere you can see a tourist attraction, that kind of thing, like go off a little beaten path. So sometimes I'd pop into a shop and say, if you were to eat dinner after you get off the shift, where would you eat? Stuff like that. So that's really fun. So I think that's the Lori. So that has obviously been quite hindered due to COVID. This is probably the longest in my adult life it has to be the longest I've not been on an airplane, which is crazy. But yeah, that is definitely, I'm also a word nerd. So I love, Scrabble. I love a crossword puzzle. So I've been able to do that quite a bit during COVID. But yeah, the travel, I would say, is what really defines me.
Yeah. And so where was the last place you visited before the season of COVID?
I was down in Florida. And then the night before, I was down in Florida in January. And then my March trip, I had gone to bed for my flight the next morning. And then the conference I was going to was canceled in the middle of the night. So I was supposed to be in LA. But none of that happened.
Yeah. And okay, how's this? Moving forward, where is the first place you'll want to go when things sort of go back to being able to, I was going to say go back to normal, but that didn't feel like the right word. So when you feel comfortable enough to travel, where's the first place you're going to go?
See my family. After that, Portugal has been on my list for a while. So we will see, but there's plenty of traveling to be done.
Yeah, I love that. And I'd say, yeah, I've had the opportunity to live and work in quite a few places. And I love this. I was telling somebody, I for some reason love this feeling of somehow being not from somewhere, but also knowing where to go at the same time. I don't know. For me, I find it incredibly comfortable. It's weird to be in places I'm actually from. Probably why I chose to live in Nigeria. But yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy it. I enjoy being, I don't know if it's a foreigner or something along those lines, but I really enjoy it.
And even just in restaurants, well, what do you recommend? Like, you pick. Just tell me what I'm supposed to eat.
I love doing that as well. Sometimes people are super confused. They're like, me? It's like, yes, I want your opinion. You work here. You know what's good.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And so what are you looking forward to next in your business?
In my business, I'm really just looking forward to this whole pivot of my business, and also just, thriving and having, the momentum to move forward. During COVID, I really took a step back and treated myself as a client. So I was able to do things for myself that I had neglected for so long, kind of like the shoemaker's kids have no shoes. And so that's been really interesting, because now I can show clients, hey, this is what I can do for you, obviously on a larger scale. But I think just having that momentum and being able to move forward, we're soon to be in a new year. Hopefully it will be a little bit brighter. And so I think that there are, some mountains to get through in the meantime, but I think there will be a light at the end of the tunnel somewhere.
Definitely. And if people are interested in your services, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Sure. You can go to elssus, E like Edward, L like Lori, SS like Sam, U, S like Sam.com. Or you can find Lori Sussle Bonanni on LinkedIn.
Great. And we'll make sure that we put the links in the comments. Is there anything else that you want to share or you think would be interesting for people to know?
I think this was just, this was really fun. And I think, I'd be happy to chat with somebody that might be interested in a consulting or an advisory. service. And if you're not sure what you need, still happy to chat. And I'm always interested in meeting interesting people. So that would be that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Lori. Yeah, I always find it fun to connect. So thank you so much for your time and for your insight.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.